I can only hope this is working because honestly it's been a bit of a challenge to set up tonight. I had to move locations and I've completely changed the way that I'm doing the whole live capture thing. So traditionally, I mean I can't really call it traditional if I've only really been doing this for a month, but traditionally I'd been using a shuttle PC. Actually, we're gonna go find it because I'm like super mad at this computer right now. I'm not impressed at all. So I have been using, oh, sorry for the noise, this shuttle PC. This is a, oh, some phone's going off right here, this one. So this is a Z68 shuttle PC. It's got dual PCI Express slots, so it's got a 16X and a 4X. So I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So I can just make like a dual HDMI capture PC, and then like it'll be awesome because it'll be super portable and like awesome and stuff. And what ended up happening is with my Blackmagic Intensity Pro HDMI capture cards, yeah, it was causing blue screens. It was causing just general incompatibility. Like I would know that I had the settings right, and then it just wouldn't work at all. And it ended up that the problem was actually just some kind of maybe a PCIe timing incompatibility or something like that, and it just did not work. So what I did was I threw the two capture cards into a different motherboard. In this case it's in a P8Z77V Premium, and everything is working 100% fine. And I really hope that this stream is working. This is my first time checking on Twitch to make sure it's actually going. And it looks like it is, so yay, excellent. Crank up the volume. Crank up the volume? Is that a consensus? Crank up the volume? And yes, I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I'm very sorry. I was having some trouble that was not good. Okay, some people are saying volume is good. Some people are saying volume is low. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it up a little bit. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. Turn it up a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to adjust the camera. Audio level. Here we go. Let's turn it up that much. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to try talking again. How's that sound to you guys? We good? We good? Alright. Yes, I know there's an echo. You know what? Too bad. There's nothing I can do. All my ears. People are either saying, okay, you know what? Forget it, you guys. I'm leaving it the way it is. Just turn your volume down. It's really hard. What was I saying? Right. Yes. I know the echo is terrible. I'm 100% aware of that. Trust me. The reason that the echo is terrible is that the room I'm in has, okay, you know, I'm just gonna go over to the camera here, and I'm gonna show you guys the room I'm in, and hopefully I'll be able to actually fix the, here, I'm just gonna change the camera completely to auto mode because I know nothing of how cameras work. I can't even find the auto mode button. Yeah, there it is. Camera, auto mode. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys the room that I'm in. I'm actually gonna turn this way. So this is a bare wall. This is a hardwood floor. These things are bad for echo. Very bad. That's my drying machine. And that's my cat carrier. Rumble had to go to the vet today. He's been throwing up, so that's not good. Here's like videoception. Here's my light. Here is the room that's on the other side of the camera. So if you guys have watched any of my recent videos, you may recognize, you know, this table, and well, there's always gear sort of lying around here. This table and this fireplace and couches. So yeah, see these though? Bare walls, and see, that looks like a carpet, but more hardwood flooring. So the problem with hardwood flooring is that it is very terrible for echoes. So I had a lot of people suggest in the video that I uploaded before with the new set that I wear a lapel mic. And what those people apparently didn't seem to notice is that I was wearing a lapel mic. So Well, while I appreciate the suggestion, hold on, I'm just going to get the focus right here. While I appreciate the suggestion, what they should have noticed in all the high def glory that was the new style video setup, I had a lapel mic on my shirt. So the lapel mic does address the issue of the sort of the echo, because it's not a shotgun mic that's so far away from me, but it does not address the problem where if I'm turning to one side or turning to the other side, the volume changes up and down. So what I really want to do is get a boom mic set up so that it can sit kind of just out of the shot right here. So I can use a shotgun mic that's very close to me, but then not have to worry about which direction I'm facing exactly in order to get some kind of even microphone sound going on. Sorry guys, it has actually been the longest week ever, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to share with you guys exactly what was going on. But yes, it's been very, very tough. People are asking for the warehouse sale preview. So the only thing I can think of right now is that if I were to upload the warehouse sale preview, then I'm just a little bit concerned that it will affect the streaming here that's going on. So why don't we just try it and see what happens? So the warehouse sale preview is just on my SD card here. You guys can come along for the ride if you want. See, this is my new way of switching between camera views. See, I can switch here. So you can see I'm going to go into my SD card and I'm going to upload this. And you guys are going to have to let me know in the Twitch chat, hopefully, if that just has totally destroyed the streaming. Are we still good? Are we still good? Okay. Sweet. Looks like no one's complaining yet. So NCIX October 20th, warehouse sale extravaganza. See, this is how I upload videos. It's actually not rocket science, this whole YouTube thing. You just gotta sort of keep at it and make lots and lots of videos. So visit this link for more. Whoa, I spelled it wrong. For more details. Whoa. So I actually had a guest film the warehouse sale preview. If you guys aren't familiar with what the warehouse sale is, the warehouse sale basically refers to once every quarter or so. Oh, trying to switch. There we go. Once every quarter or so, NCIX takes all the open box stuff, and hopefully this gives you guys some idea what happens to some of the open box stuff that I open up. So they take all the open box stuff, put it all into like a big room, and then sell it for like half price. So people line up all night. In fact, I was there at 7 p.m. I was at the office today, and people were already lined up for the warehouse sale, which starts tomorrow morning. So people get super, super excited about all this stuff. People are asking how long the live stream is for. The live stream is going to be until about 10:30 my time. So it'll be about an hour and a half so far. Why don't we take some time and do some Twitter questions? So I'm not sure how well this is going to work tonight because this is going to be a problem. Okay, you know what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to rely on Twitter on this screen here because I'm using two computers to capture as opposed to how I'm normally using a single computer to capture and use Twitter. So see, I'm using this laptop for my own view. I could not figure out a way. Like, you can use XSplit to capture a portion of the screen on the computer that you're actually using, but you cannot use XSplit to capture a portion of the screen or a portion of a video in stream, if you guys understand what I mean, because I'm using HDMI out on this notebook into a capture card on the computer over there, and then what I would want to do is take the Twitter portion here, which you guys can see on the right, and then draw a box around that and make it so that I can overlay that on top of me sitting here and talking, sort of like this, except that that Twitter feed right there is actually on the computer over there, which means I actually can't read it from here, nor can I control it unless I had a wireless keyboard and mouse. You know what a better solution might actually be? Instead of using a laptop here, just get a wireless keyboard and mouse and a monitor and sit here like that so that I can, and then I'll just clone the displays and then I'll be able to monitor things more closely. I think that'll be a better solution in future, but we're learning things every week, and at least we've got the awesome new camera to use. I actually haven't done any fine tuning with the lights today. I think I look a little bit washed out, but I've got Diesel coming over this weekend, and he's going to be giving me a big hand with all of the, well, fact that I don't know how to use a camera. And he'll be getting everything all fixed. Everything you guys saw shot already. So all of like the new set stuff. So here, let's just go back to the YouTubes. Oh, that's what happens if you spell YouTube wrong. All right then. I'm lucky I didn't end up with like a porn website, because I think that this live stream is supposed to stay pretty family friendly. So if you guys haven't already seen any of the new set footage, yes, I know it's not really my style, and I know it's like kind of a little bit too professional for a lot of the viewers' tastes, but it's something that I do have to do for a variety of reasons, which will become more clear later. And it's something that, yeah, wow, that looks kind of terrible. I'm gonna have to start wearing makeup, which is sort of brutal. It's something that I do want to continue to work on, but I need Diesel's help in order to get the production values right, and in order to just kind of make it better in general. We didn't have nearly as much time as I would have liked to spend on that Galaxy Note 10.1 video, but what I'm gonna try and do is play around with it a little bit this weekend. I've actually got something really cool. You guys might even really like this. Check this out. So here's the power adapter, super small power adapter. This is what I'll be playing around with this weekend. This notebook carrying case is the ultimate accessory for your notebook. You should buy, no, I'm just kidding, you shouldn't buy one today. What I do have though is a Windows 8 touchscreen notebook from Samsung. This is a Series 5. So what that means is that once you boot it up, and hopefully the boot up time, you know what, let's find out how quick the boot up time is, because that's one of the big things about Windows 8 is dramatically improved boot up times. Let's see if we can like see the camera through the screen. Oh, is it done already? Oh, it wants me to activate Windows. Okay, go to PC settings. And then maybe I'll just go away from PC settings. Haha, then I can just use it. So this is the Not Metro interface. That's how quickly Windows 8 boots up. This is a multi-touch, touchscreen notebook. One of the things I've noticed about it already, and I'm a little bit disappointed in, is the viewing angle. So what I find is that really expensive touchscreen interfaces, like the ones Apple uses, like the ones that Asus uses on their very high-end products, still have phenomenal viewing angles. So you can be looking at it from like, you know, here, I'll hold up to the camera. You can be looking at it from like this angle, and you'll still be able to make everything out really well. It's like an IPS panel, and the touchscreen doesn't obscure it. But what I've noticed about this one is, whether it's due to the fact that it's a TN panel, or whether it's due to the touchscreen interface, watch what happens with the viewing angle here as I tilt it up. So you see, you actually don't have to get that low, and the image almost disappears entirely. All the color washes out of it. From the top down is not nearly as noticeable. From the sides you lose all the color, but the image stays clear. Either way, I'm mostly just excited about the idea of sort of having the option of using a keyboard and a touchscreen at the same time. I did an NCIX Tech Tips about this whole sort of touchscreen keyboard hybrid thing that's going on, and I'm actually not sure if that one's uploaded yet. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, Windows 8 Gestures Guide, and then I also did another one, so NCIX Windows 8. So here I'm showing sort of how the experience is going to go. This one's really old. Windows 8 yes, this one. Now, I can't say that I'm entirely sold. Like I've been playing around with it a fair bit. This one was uploaded on September 21st, so I've been tinkering with this for over a month. And while I am sold on the idea of touchscreen with Windows 8 and having a keyboard handy, what I don't like, and I don't know if you guys can see my mouse pointer here. I'm just going to turn the quality down so that doesn't kill the bandwidth here. But I don't know if you guys can see my mouse pointer here. But you see the keyboard. Okay. So the keyboard has a certain sort of. Okay. Let's just find a shot that we can just pause. Okay. So the keyboard has a certain distance from the monitor. You never have, unlike with a laptop, you never have a monitor right up against your keyboard. No one uses a computer like that. I mean, here, I'll point you at this one to show you sort of, this is what I consider to be a more, you know what, you're not really even going to be able to see that, but whatever. There's a keyboard there and there's a monitor sort of there, but whatever, don't worry about it. So that's what I consider to be more normal. Plus, when you're sitting at a desk and you're, you know, desktop experience, kind of computer usage model, you typically have some room between the desk and yourself. So what I discovered playing around with the touchscreen monitor is that I actually end up far enough away that it's not really comfortable. So it's very comfortable to use a device with your arm. Like think of the ergonomics of it. So you got your arm kind of bent, kind of like this. So you got that sort of 100 degree, 110 degree angle, and that's how you would typically use a touchscreen device. If you're extending any further than that to reach the monitor, then you're going to have a lot more fatigue. I mean, it's like leverage, right? The further out the weight is away from your shoulder joint and your elbow, the more pressure there's going to be on it. So if you're like this, it's very comfortable. If you're like this, it's actually quite uncomfortable. So with a notebook experience, I think this is a lot more exciting because here, I'm going to kind of put this, nope, I can't quite do that. Okay, I'm going to put this here because with the notebook experience, you're sitting this far away from it, which means I can reach it with what I'd consider to be that optimal arm bend without it being uncomfortable. So I'm not, I mean, yeah, no one knows what the future holds in terms of Windows 8 and the adoption rate and what it's going to mean to everyone. But I can tell you guys, I have already found myself once in a while sort of reaching towards the screen of my computer and realizing it's not a touchscreen because I'm so used to using a smartphone and a tablet. People are asking for Q&A. So I think it's time to do some Q&A here. Let's go ahead and switch to the Twitter feed, which, come on, really? Really? Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, Twitter. Here we go, guys. One new tweet. Really? That can't be right. Am I not signed in? Oh, I'm not signed in. Well, that won't work. Linus Tech. And what is my password? Let's hope that's it. And that is apparently not it, which is sort of bizarre because I changed it like 2 minutes ago because I wasn't able to sign in, and I'm very, very sure that that's the correct password. So you guys are going to have to, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to bear with me here for a second while I reset my password, which is ridiculous. Oh, brilliant. Apparently, okay, there we go. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a total disaster because I couldn't even switch back to my, regular feed here. It really has not been, my week. I've slept very little, and it's been very, very challenging. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you guys have, definitely had weeks like that before. Okay. Now they're going to send me a message, apparently. At least I hope so. Because I'd love to do some Q&A right now. Because that's sort of usually pretty simple to do. I'm just stalling for time. I had people asking about my shirt before. They think it's an everyday I'm shuffling shirt, but actually it's a badminton joke. And the badminton joke is every day I'm shuttling. See? So it's like badminton shuttles, and then he's holding a badminton racket. So it's slightly different, but it's just a bit of a joke based on the party rock anthem song that is pretty good if you're into that sort of thing. No, it's really not going to let me in to Twitter right now, which is phenomenally frustrating. So it's asking me to enter my phone number. Oh, hold on. This is not good. This is not good. So here, this is how it's supposed to work. I'm supposed to type my username and click submit, and there we go. This time it worked. Awesome. So we'll be live in just a moment with more Q&A. Let me see if there's... Oh, we're good. We're good. Here we go. And we are done. So I am very sure that I am entering the password that I think I'm entering this time. And if it manages to not accept this password again, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. All right, connect. Time for tweets. Can you tell us all what laptop that is and what's inside it? Actually, I have no idea what is inside this laptop right now at this moment. I do know that it's a Samsung laptop. It's a Series 5. It comes with Windows 8. It has... Okay, this is driving me absolutely crazy. The range isn't quite right on this stupid Bluetooth thing. It has something. Yeah, it's a Series 5. It has USB 3. I mean, it's pretty similar to the existing Series 5, which is the N something 540U, and then this is the NT 540U, which is touch. Funny story though, is this notebook actually has an enormous scratch down the back panel. You see that? Because Samsung's been taking it around to a wide variety of trade shows. So what I actually had to do, in order to shoot my video showcase of the notebook and have it not look phenomenally stupid, is I grabbed a 540U, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pretend that the back of that notebook is the back of this notebook, and then the front of this notebook is the back of the other one. So that's my little trick, the kinds of things that go on behind the scenes, right? Here, so let's switch back to the Twitter feed. What video card manufacturer would you say is best for a novice? Well, whether you're a novice or an experienced, whatever it is that you are, so maybe you mean you're a novice buyer, novice gamer, I don't know, doesn't matter. Video card manufacturer is just whoever manufactures your video card. So guys like EVGA, ASUS, MSI, these are all very good choices. XFX, if I had to pick sort of my top 4, those would be them. It's very hard to go wrong with any of those guys at all. Make the best gaming PC under 600 bucks. Really, guys, I get a lot of questions about what is sort of the best option for a PC for a given price range, and what I usually end up, I mean, honestly, guys, I get literally hundreds of messages every day, and people are often asking me sort of long, complicated questions. I don't have time, and it's really not that hard to find out what's a good option for a pre-built PC. Really? Really? Let's go. Come on. There you go. Because you guys, as you probably know, I work at NCIX, so you click buy a PC, you click gaming, okay, you want $600, you go to value gaming, you find a computer that's $600, that was probably configured by the crazy Russian, so there you go. Core i3, GTX 650 OC, 4 gigs DDR3 memory, 500 gig hard drive, Windows Home Premium. You want to spend a little, okay, don't get that one sucks. But yeah, there you go. Best i3 3010. What I would probably do is I would consider changing that GeForce card over to something like a 7770. I'd find it to be a little bit of a better value, or spend a little bit more and get a 650 Ti. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to choosing a configuration, find a configuration, send it to me, and I will happily go through it and make any suggestions. But I can't take questions like, Linus, what's the best gaming PC for 1,400 Great Britain pounds? And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, A, I don't work in that frequency. I have no freaking idea how much things cost. And then B, it's like, well, do a little bit of the legwork, put together something you think is right, send it over to me, and I'll say things like, oh, spend more on the video card, maybe drop down the CPU, get a better power supply, and that case is way too expensive for the other components you're buying. Dump that back into getting more performance, and then grab an SSD, or something along those lines. I'll give you an idea of how to tweak the machine in order to get the best value out of it. Sunny asks, what do I think about Intel's Haswell architecture? How much of a performance increase should we expect over Ivy Bridge? Right now, I can't think anything about Haswell because Haswell is not out right now, so there's not a whole lot for me to say. I mean, it's Intel, so my expectation is pretty solid. It's going to be, I believe is this a talk or a tick? Can't remember, but this is an actual architectural shift, whereas Ivy Bridge was just a process shrink. So it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20% performance improvement, and that's sort of it. It's pretty much always like that. And then AMD will fall even further behind, which for those of us who who really enjoyed the Athlon 64 era when AMD basically revolutionized the whole gig. It's sort of saddening. NVIDIA 650 Ti or Radeon 7770. I don't game a lot. I just want something better than my Xbox. Personally, I'd probably go 650 Ti out of those two. I do find the NVIDIA experience a little bit better for certain things. If you did want to go multi-monitor, then I'd go AMD. However, if you're going to go multi-monitor, then the 7770 is the wrong choice anyway, because it's way underpowered for a multi-monitor setup. Okay. Danny says, how are you liking your German car? Why did you choose a Volkswagen over another Honda? Good question. I did not. My wife's car is the Volkswagen Rabbit, and my car is the Honda Civic. The only reason that we've switched vehicles is because her car is a 2-door and mine's a 4-door, and because she's on maternity leave with the baby, she's usually the one driving in places, which means it's a lot more convenient to load the car seat into the back seat of a car that is a 4-door as opposed to a 2-door. It's you're not allowed to put baby car seats in the front seat, at least here in Canada anyway, due to the regulations and laws and whatnot. So that's why we ended up going that route. She's going to want her car back at some point. Shane asked, are you going to do an unboxing of the new AMD Piledriver chips when they come out? What do you think of them? I actually have already done more than an unboxing. Slick's ran a whole bunch of benchmarks and whatnot, and we've got performance numbers against the previous generation AMD chips, and that's all going to go up on the NCIXCom channel on launch day, which is sometime next week if I recall correctly. This is a great question. Francesco asks, is that a Playboy mousepad? To which I would answer, yes indeed it is. This is a Funk pad. This is an 1030 archetype. This thing is one of a kind as far as I know, because Funk's whole thing, Funk was actually a local Vancouver company. Their entire manufacturing was like down the street from NCIX. And this was something that was produced as a one-off for a former employee of NCIX. He had the misfortune to leave it in my site for long enough that I managed to snag it. Actually, he moved. He moved to our Ontario office and left it behind in his BC office, which I inherited. So I totally snagged the one-of-a-kind, unique Playboy mousepad for myself. It's actually an excellent mousepad too. That's the difference between this and like most promotional mousepads, which are usually crap, because any kind of a graphic on a mousepad, unless it's a really good surface, is just going to destroy the tracking. I mean, I love a cool looking mouse pad with a great picture on it as much as the next guy, but unless they do a perfect job of the surface itself, it's going to, every time you cross one of those light to dark barriers, pretty much no matter how good your mouse is, it is going to jump or skip or pause or something bad. Something bad will happen. A great example of this is the game pads that Intel was giving away with one of their recent promotions. So I'll see if I've gone full screen. I'll see if I can find these game pads because they're cool. They're really big, and okay, Intel gamepad. They're really big. They looked Intel pad. Oh, that's sort of bizarre. Mouse. Oh, okay, whatever, I can't find it. But they're really cool. They're huge, and they had this great graphic of like some guy who's like whoosh, and they're fantastic. But they tracked for crap, and I couldn't even use them, unfortunately. But an example of someone who does do it right would be SteelSeries. So most of their mouse pads that I've had experience with anyway, with complicated graphics on them, such as the what's that badass dragon, Warcraft? I don't know, some dragon was on the front of some mouse pad. It tracked great, and like their Diablo 3 QCK also is fantastic, so they do a pretty good job of that as well. Let's have a look at some more tweets. Shout out to Scottish people. Okay, you bet. Family friendly. Yes, I'm family friendly. What do you think this is? The mouse I'm using right now is not a G600. I'm actually not quite sure what to think of the G600. I spent a little bit of time with it when I first got it. And what I noticed is that it doesn't feel quite as twitchy responsive as my G9. Really like the G9, really like the Akari laser. I really like the Razer Naga, although the ergonomics aren't great for me, but the sensor feels really good, feels really tight, really responsive. Whereas with the G600, I don't know what it is. It's very accurate, Like I can decide where I want the pointer to be, I can move and it's there, but it just feels like it took a little bit longer, and no amount of tinkering with the DPI or installing the drivers or playing around with it really fixed it for me. It's just a personal preference thing. I'm very picky about mice, so yeah, no, I'm not using the G600, although I was playing around with it yesterday, but it hasn't managed to make its way onto my actual system desk. Although my actual system is in so many pieces right now that, check this out, I actually have pieces of my desktop machine right here for your enjoyment and taunting during this very live stream. See, these are my boot drives, and then these are the rest of my boot drives. So if you guys don't already know, I have an 8-drive RAID 0 for my boot drive on my desktop machine. So that's a total of just shy of 1 terabyte of SSD storage. I have them all in RAID 0. I know that seems unwise, but I'm doing nightly backups, and I also don't really keep anything of value on my computer. All of my storage is actually done through Windows Home Server. So all I do is I just access over the network everything that I could possibly need. I have a gigabit network in my home, so it's not like it's any slower than a mechanical hard drive. I mean, think about this for a second, guys. Gigabit is basically, for sort of stupid math, 1/10, is around 100 megabytes per second. So what that means is that a hard drive, which is capable of, sustained, maybe a little higher, maybe 160, 180 megabytes per second, and that's an internal hard drive. So on the other end of that gigabit pipe, I have an enormous RAID 6 hooked up to a very fancy RAID controller card that is actually going to give better responsiveness than a single internal hard drive, even though the max bandwidth is a little bit lower. So for me, browsing files on my network storage, and I know people seem to kind of get bored when I talk a lot about network storage and whatnot, but you know what, guys? It is so awesome. I mean, it's totally responsive. I can go into any archive, unboxings, and I can just play things over the network just like this. It does not take any longer than it does if I'm storing the files locally. Also, it prevents me from running into situations where I have multiple copies of my files all over my house, and I'm duplicating what I would otherwise be able to store in all one place. So people are bored. Bored, yawn, bored. Linus, go on Twitter. That's what the Twitch chat is saying. So you guys are killing me here. Fine, I'll do more Twitter questions. So why would you use an AMD A10 5800? I would use an i5 3570 out of all of those options. For a computer that is going to use to fix photos for eBay, that's the only use for this computer? I would use a Sempron. I'd try not to overthink it too much. Okay. Any good mice that are left-handed or can be used left-handed that you know of? Yeah. SteelSeries has a couple good ones. The Sensei is probably the best option for an ambidextrous mouse that has a fantastic sensor, good software. And let's move along to the next Twitter question. No, I haven't had a chance to use the Phoenix Nisita mouse. Haven't used the Razer Ouroboros either. I haven't even heard of that. Have big hands like small mice. Live on Vancouver Island, so Staples is the only real testing place for mice. Best smaller mouse. If I was buying a smaller mouse today, you know what? The G9 is really not that big, so that might be an option for you. If you take a lot of the weight out of it, it has the removable weight cartridges inside. So I don't know if you guys have used a G9 before. But once you take the outer shell off, it actually comes with a smaller outer shell as well. But then you can actually take out the weight cartridge, and it's really not that heavy. It's super heavy once you put all the weights on it, but that might be a good option for you. Other than that, if you play any MMOs or if you would have any reason to use the macro keys, Razer Naga is an excellent mouse. I really, really like it. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit. Here's a good question. So, can you explain RAID? I would love to explain RAID for you. Here's how I'm going to do it. YouTube.com. Let's see. Let's actually, you know what? Let's try RAID hard drive or something like that. Let's try a keyword that might work because RAID's going to have lots of other stuff. Oh, I failed. Okay, let's try RAID Linus. Really? Oh, it brings up a bunch of Linux. Search instead for RAID Linus. Come on, you can do it. There we go. See? RAID 0 and RAID 1 setup guide, preview of a RAID build, SSDs in RAID. I think there's another one that I did on RAID 5 and 6. There it is, RAID 5 and RAID 10 tutorial. Okay, apparently I didn't cover RAID 6. But yes, I have covered explaining RAID in pretty good depth on a number of occasions, so you definitely want to check out those videos. But in summary, RAID is using multiple drives together in order to achieve either better data security or better speed. Lataro asks, how good is the FX 6100? What I have to say about AMD's product stack is that it is priced appropriately. I saw a really interesting news article where someone was talking about how, holy crap, AMD's new chips, because there's lots of leaks in terms of pricing and performance and all that stuff. Holy crap, AMD's new chips are going to be priced like super low. They're coming in at a very, very aggressive price. And how exciting is this? And my response to that is, whenever you hear anything about pricing for an upcoming video card or an upcoming CPU, what that should tell you is how well it performs. Because AMD's not stupid, Intel's not stupid, Nvidia's not stupid. They take their new product and they go, okay, so here, this is where the competitor's product is here at $200, and this is where the competitor's product here is at $100, and we know our chip performs about here, so we'll price it at $150. It's not rocket science. You can probably extrapolate the performance of any upcoming part based on the rumors about pricing well before it ever comes out. So there you go. How good is an FX 6100? It is exactly FX 6100. It is exactly $100 good, which in terms of sort of equivalent to what you'd see on the Intel side is sort of like, you know, about Core i3 level. And honestly, that's probably about where it falls. The exceptions being heavily threaded workloads. For example, Diesel is now using an FX 8150 in his rendering machine, and he says it has made a big difference for him over his existing. He had either a Q6600 or a Q9550. He said it's been like an awesome, like phenomenal upgrade for him because all those threads is great for doing things like color correction, post-processing, and all the fancy hoo-ha that he's usually working on. Any good ergonomic gaming keyboards? Honestly, not really. The whole ergonomic keyboard thing has kind of fallen out of vogue lately. I had a Microsoft Natural back in the day. I loved it, but there's not really anything specifically for gaming. Why is Slick's identity such a closely guarded secret? Honestly, it's not really. I mean, people have seen it. There's footage of Slick on YouTube. It's as difficult as going like this. Slick, Linus, Slick revealed. There you go, first hit. And well, that's Slick with a bag on his head. But this is, I think this is Slick filming something at one of the live events that we've done. So yeah, it's not really that big of a secret. It's just one of those things where, generally speaking, like think about it. You go to see a play. Do the people who like run out and move the set around, do they have a spotlight on them? Do they show their faces? Not really. It's just how it's done. When you're part of the crew, you're supposed to, I mean, Diesel calls it show black. You're supposed to wear black so that you're not going to get caught in the reflections. You're supposed to stay out of reflections. You're supposed to be quiet because otherwise you're gonna ruin the shot, and you're not supposed to be making the show run, not necessarily starring in the show. However, I think Slick is actually considering using the Twitch channel here to potentially do some gameplay streaming videos and let you guys play some games with him and stuff. So I'll bug him about that, but I think it'll have to be sometime after he's done his exams. So Slick's still a student, just like Edsel. They actually both go to school at the same place. So yeah, once he's done his exams, then we'll be having a different conversation. Shout out from Manila. Okay, can do. Yeah, no, I'm not doing the ABCs backwards in ASL. I already showed I know how to do it. Mount a cheap laser on your camera so you know if it's filming at the right position instead of checking back on your monitor. That is interesting. What I'm actually checking on the monitor is whether my switching is working or not. So, good suggestion. Love it. But the reason I'm doing that is actually slightly different from what's going on, because the wireless link between this thing is actually not that good. Infusion says, we have the same mouse. I love my G9X. I actually have a G9, but you know, close enough. You tried really hard. That's good. What do you think is better, Big Bang X Power or Rampage 5 Extreme? Out of those two, I would probably, well, Big Bang X Power is an X58 board for one thing, so I think you mean the Big Bang X Power 2. I would personally go Rampage 5 Extreme for one reason, and that's because it's actually still in a standard ATX length. whereas the Big Bang X Power 2 is an XL ATX length and really doesn't fit in a lot of cases. I mean, there are cases it fits in, but I like the Silverstone TJ07. I like not being locked to sort of 5% of the cases that are out there because of the length of my motherboard. I prefer going the other way around. Do you think the 650 Ti is a good bang for the buck? Yeah, it's good. Do you think it would perform well as an eGPU? Electronic GPU? Maybe he means external GPU with one of those enclosures? Not quite sure what he means by eGPU, so I tried. Have a time-pressured extreme PC building and modding contest with Slick against Logan and his team. You know what? Probably not a bad idea. That kind of thing would be very, very fun. So I'm not going to say that that's not something that will happen in the future. Speaking of things that will happen in the future, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the PC Per podcast, or if you're familiar with PC Per in general. So PC Perspective is a website on the internets, and they have a podcast, and I will actually be making a guest appearance on that podcast next week. So if you guys want to tune in, that's cool. If you don't want to tune in, honestly, that's cool too. It doesn't really make that much of a difference to me. So that'll be on the 25th, I believe. It's every Thursday. I don't even know what time it is. I think it's around noon my time. So noon my time is whatever time it is your time. Get a world clock. You know what? There's a widget in Windows, so you just like add that time zone clock to the side of your thing, and then you won't have too much trouble with that. Moving right along, more Twitter. And I knocked over my keyboard that I use for switching. Awesome. I'm like a rock star today. This is amazing. You use many different web browsers, including Opera. Yes, I do. The reason I do that is because I have many different Google accounts. And while you can now, although I don't believe you used to be able to do it, while you can add additional Google accounts signed in under the same browser, I find it actually less convenient to use it that way than to just have 5 different browsers that are all logged into 5 different Google accounts and just kind of remember. I mean, I remember Firefox is for Linus at NCIX, Internet Explorer is for NCIX Tech Tips, Chrome is for Linus Tech Tips, Safari is for Linus Cat Tips, and then Opera is sort of a utility one if I need to log into one of my other variety of Gmail accounts. Use 6950 or new 7870. You know what? I'd probably go with the new 7870. 7870 is a great value these days, and it can overclock like a boss. George says it's the first time tuning in live. Thank you for tuning in live, George. I appreciate it very, very much. What would you recommend for cheap and efficient power supply? You know what? You've probably narrowed it down to one of the best choices out there. A lot of people ask me for power supply advice and then totally ignore me. They ask me for power supply advice and I say, get a high efficiency 650, 550, 750 watt power supply. And they kind of go, oh, Linus, what do you think of this 1000 watt 80 plus platinum? And I kind of go, well, it's a good power supply, but based on the configuration you showed me that's going to suck 250 to 300 watts from the wall maximum, you're actually going to be getting worse efficiency out of a higher capacity power supply than you would out of a lower capacity one. It's not about buying the biggest power supply. It's about buying the most optimized power supply. So if you're getting a single GPU gaming rig, an EA 650 Platinum is actually an excellent choice. Way to go. Wow. Gideorson? I don't know. If anyone can pronounce that, you get 3 points on the internets. I'm interested in network storage. That's fantastic, Andreas. George asks, best silent fans. I get this question a lot because I'm a bit of a silence dork. Noctua F. Where is it? Noctua, where is it? Something F12. There you go. Buy this. Just buy it and be done with it. This is an amazing fan. It is just amazing in every way. It sends the air where you want it to go. It has awesome static pressure. It's magical. If you hate the color scheme, there are other options out there. BitPhoenix Spectre Pros are pretty good. Gelid Wings are pretty good. Be Quiet fans I've heard excellent things about, and the one that I checked out was excellent as well. So there are other options if you absolutely... Scythe Gentle Typhoons are awesome as well. Most of them you're going to have to undervolt. The Noctuas come with all the adapters you need to run them super quiet, and I'm just so impressed with Noctua every day, all day, every day, that I just recommend it anytime someone asks me for the best silent fan. What's your thought on dual radiators in a water-cooled build, and what kind of heat would it require for them to be useful? Honestly, you can take advantage of a dual rad with just a CPU loop. Single rads are not good enough, and it's pretty simple physics, to be perfectly honest, because heat dissipation is all about surface area. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of walking away because I'm trying to figure out if I have a heat sink anywhere around here that I can show you guys. So heat dissipation is surface area. And then you have fans applying moving air to that surface area to carry the heat away. So what that means is that if you have a radiator that has less surface area than a heatsink, then it should stand to reason that the performance of said radiator will actually be less than a heatsink. People ask me all the time about like Corsair H60. H60, great product. Makes your system look tidier. It looks nice. It has water in it. Doesn't perform nearly as well as tons of air coolers on the market because it's so little surface area. Oh, what it does do is it removes a fan from your system, although it adds a pump, so it's, from a silence perspective, I don't even know if it even makes sense. So it's got this tiny, tiny surface area. What it does have as an advantage is the ability to draw heat away from the CPU more quickly because it's using water. However, if you can't dissipate that heat from the radiator fast enough, the water just warms up and warms up and warms up until it reaches an equilibrium point where the water rushing around the loop is at 45 degrees, and then even if it's holding it, even if the CPU block is efficient enough to take 45-degree water and keep your CPU at 70 degrees, then I mean, fantastic, you got a 70-degree CPU. That's not better than air cooling. So I really recommend, if you're going to get a pre-done water cooler, get an H80, get an H100. A dual rad makes a huge difference. And then a thick rad makes a big difference as well. However, if you really want to go water cooling, the way to do it is to get a custom loop. Custom loop is awesome, and the way that bosses do it. Trying to change my thing here. I hate this thing. I have a better wireless keyboard, but I used this one because I thought, because it's really low profile, it would be awesome. But this is not working tonight. Going to test the 7H, thanks to you. Good job. Should I buy the Fanatic or the normal one? There is no difference. Oh, apparently there's a little difference with the ear cups. Okay, I have no idea. It's the same headphones. When I use the 7Hs, I personally prefer the pleathery ear cups as opposed to the fabric ones. So if you're interested in my thoughts on it at all, then I would probably go that route. Do you think AMD will beat NVIDIA with the blah, blah, blah with the 8000 series? You know what? It doesn't matter. It's the same old thing every time. Everyone wants to speculate about the new AMD thing or the new NVIDIA thing or the new Intel thing. How will it perform? How will it be priced? You know what? It'll perform better. It'll be priced the same. And then the prices will erode as the market gets flooded with parts. And then something new will come out and it will replace it. And I'll be that. So yeah, something will happen and someone will release something. And honestly, until we get closer, like we haven't even seen any solid rumors about 8000 series. So I'm not even thinking about it. I'm actually curious to see if AMD even calls it 8000 series. I mean, I was surprised when NVIDIA released a 9800 graphics card because that was a number that AMD had used before, well ATI I guess at the time. ATI had used before with the Radeon 9800 Pro. So it was quite puzzling to me that they decided to go that route and release a 9800 to go along with their competitor's 9800. Okay, back to more Twitter questions. Yay! Thank you. Linus, I'm in the market for a new mechanical gaming keyboard. I see you have the Corsair K90, and I want to know your thoughts. I do not use a Corsair K90. I'm not sure where you saw me use a Corsair K90. Probably on the set of NCIX Tech Tips. So the K90 looks fantastic. It is like the best looking keyboard. It has individually backlit keys. It's got that gorgeous aluminum thing going on. I'm personally not a big fan of cherry red switches. So I'm actually using a Neonic Cybele 60. I've got a couple 7Gs in deployment. I still use my G15 Gen 1 from time to time, although that's not a mechanical keyboard. I'm more of a cherry cherry blue, well, can't use blue because I have a baby in the house now and he'll wake up if I use cherry blues. They're so loud. I'm more of a black cherry NX switch user, although I just got my hands on the new Logitech, whatever it is. I think it's the 710 Plus. This is very exciting. 710. Let's try searching. Is it? No, I don't know what it is. Google.ca, Logitech, mechanic. Yeah, there we go. Mechanical keyboard. G710 Plus. Yeah, that's what it is. Here's the Anantech review. So I just got my hands on one of these. I'm really excited to try it because they decided to go with brown switches. So brown switches are basically like, let me see if I can remember this. I think brown switches take a little bit more force to depress, like blues, but they're quieter than blues, if I recall correctly. And then the mushier, more linear ones are the blacks and the reds. Although the thing I like about the blacks, I don't like on some keyboards, but I really like on the Zybel, is not the fact that they're linear. So I'm really excited to try out this keyboard because I haven't yet seen like a gaming-oriented keyboard with macro keys and those kinds of features with cherry brown switches. So very, very, very cool. Very cool. Let's go back to Twitter, shall we? Is an Intel 330 series SSD okay for a boot drive? Yes. AMD Piledriver review soon? Yes. I'm in the... Okay, I already read that. Oh, wow, we're all the way back to where we started. Fantastic. 249 new interactions. You guys are killing me here. Wow. How do you set up an AMD main graphics with an NVIDIA PhysX dedicated card? I had someone ask this question not that long ago, and the answer I gave them was, you can't. And then I had someone kind of jump in, oh, the internet's Linus, you actually can. Here's a forum thread somewhere we get... Yes, you can. However, you're going to always be locked into using a last generation driver, and every time you want to update your drivers, you're going to be tweaking something or changing some file or somehow hacksering it, and to me it's really not worth it. PhysX is cool, I guess. There's a couple games that do leverage it, Borderlands 2 being a recent exception of note, or not exception, but a recent notable title that does utilize PhysX. Look, if you want PhysX, use an NVIDIA graphics card. It really doesn't seem that complicated. If you don't want PhysX, go ahead and use an AMD graphics card. Building a machine that is basically built around the idea that the hardware is not supposed to work together correctly is asking for trouble. You're going to have enough trouble with your computer because computers are finicky sometimes if you don't intentionally configure a computer that you know isn't supposed to work right. So that's my 2 cents on that. I probably won't address it again, but there you go. I don't recommend it. Razer Naga versus Corsair M90. Personally, I'd go Naga. The Naga has the advantage of having more reachable buttons for me because the buttons are all so close together, but the drawback of that is because they're so close together, you can often accidentally hit them. However, with the M90, I find the buttons, the left and right click are a little sensitive for me. They're almost like a hair trigger. And I put more weight on my mouse when I'm moving it around, so I had a little bit of trouble with that, although I got used to it after a while. There's an M90 on the machine that's right over there. But then for the side buttons, because I have kind of small hands, I found I wasn't able to really reach that many of them. So Naga works for me. When I move my hands like an octopus, it kills your bandwidth. That is probably the best tweet I've gotten on a live stream yet. So what you're saying is I shouldn't do this. Oh, see, I'm doing it, but it's not counting because I didn't switch. Woo! Does that kill anyone else's bandwidth? I'm just curious. Go over to the Twitch thing and see what that does. Nope. Okay, fine, forget it. I guess you should get more bandwidth or something. Let's go ahead. Back to Twitter. Yes. Linus, should I get a second 570 and run SLI or get a new 670 or 680? Usually, I would recommend selling your old card, getting a new card, especially because you can get 670s for pretty reasonable prices already. The prices started really high when they were super in demand, and then they just kind of went like this, and now they've leveled off a little bit. So now is probably a good time to buy a 670. I mean, a 660 Ti is a great option too, unless you're running like super uber multi-monitor. which case you probably need like two 670s and with like lots of RAM. 660 Ti is a great option. Once you overclock them, they get pretty close to a 670, and you save anywhere from $70 to $100, depending on where you shop for your 670s and 660 Ti's. Joel, good question, Joel. Would you use an Eyefinity or surround setup for your personal rig? For me, no. It's not my preference. I like to have a single, very large format display for my personal machine. However, at work, I don't know if you've ever seen something that I've filmed in my office. Let me see if I can actually find something that I filmed in my office. So, Linus giveaway. I think I filmed a couple in my office. Oh yeah, there's that one. That's not my office. Well, if you've seen my office, you'll know that I actually have 4 monitors. 4 monitors on my desk at my office, because I find for productivity, this is awesome. These were so good. The submissions for the Duke Nukem giveaway contest. Now I'm all reminiscing and stuff because this is awesome. This was a really good one. Let's see. Not my favorite though. Let me see if I can find my favorite one. Should totally just play this for you guys. You know what? You won't have audio anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But for work, multi-monitor, awesome. Prefer it. For gaming, I prefer a single monitor because I find the peripheral experience doesn't really add that much for me personally. Got a good liquid cooler suggestion. Get the H100. There you go. Sorry, should go back to Twitter. How are high-end USB DACs compared to internal cards? Often actually better. If you can find a super awesome USB DAC, then you will get the advantage of having it completely removed from all the interference that's bouncing around inside of a computer chassis. And you will also have the advantage of, well, I mean, come on guys, sound doesn't need a huge data rate. USB 2 is A-okay. So you got it removed. You can also have the added space of having a larger enclosure. So something like an Asus Essence 1 would be an example of a product that would leverage both the lack of interference. Oh my goodness, it's Linus Videoception. The lack of interference and the extra space. So Essence 1, and it sounds so good. I actually did a video about this thing at one point. It only does headphones or 2.1 speakers. That's it, but it does do upsampling, and it just sounds amazing. So my new audio setup is going to be, once I finally get my personal rig back up and running, is going to be the Essence 1 for my headphones, the Corsair SP2500s running off my Zonar Zent, so my sound card, and then I'm going to have the Thunder FX that got included with the Maximus 5 formula for my microphone in, because it has an awesome like ambient noise canceling thing. So if the baby's crying, it's got a microphone on the front that hears that the baby's crying, and then that's not my voice because it also has a microphone jack, and it'll just cancel it out. It's really freaking cool. So that's going to be my new setup. I'm just a little bit too far away. Change, please. Ah! 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 Come on. There we go. Awesome. Watched all videos and reviews I could find. Still can't decide on a good headset to complement Zonar DX D2X. Get a 7H. Bam. Can you shine some light on microstutter and SLI and ways to prevent it? There's nothing you can do to prevent it. And personally, I don't really see it, so I can't comment on it too much. Some people really see it, some people really don't. Are you still considering to launch a Europe store or shipping to Europe? I feel left out about not being able to buy. What I said was, you never know what the future holds. I didn't say that that's happening. So, yeah, let's not read too much into things. All right, first time watching from John Salisbury. What do you think about Gigabyte GPUs? They seem noticeably absent from every GPU review of yours. Yeah, they're good. Nothing wrong with them. It's just that whatever I get sent, oftentimes, is what I'll take a look at. And for me, I guess it comes down to personal philosophy, because for me, go, thank you. For me, I find stuff like this, youtube.com, kind of pointless. And I mean, I love Paul. but I'm sure that he had to do this. Where they've got, like, look at this. 1 reference card, 2 reference cards, 3 reference cards, 4 reference cards. Oh, man. I mean, it's tedious. Here, another reference card, what is that, 5? 5 reference GTX 680s? I mean, that's cool and all, but are they really different? Do you really care? If I take the MSI one and I go, okay, here's the MSI one, it's pretty ballin'. Here's the Galaxy one, it's got a different color sticker. I don't think you guys want to see that. I think that if you subscribe to this channel for the point of seeing a different video every day, I would be doing a disservice if I uploaded the same video card 5 times in a row with a slightly different package and a slightly different sticker. Now, when we come into video cards that are unique, then we've got a different thing going on. So for example, the 7970 Matrix, because it is so cool and so unique, justified its own full performance review and close look on the NCIX Tech Tips channel. Remember guys, if you are only subscribed to me on Linus Tech Tips, then you are going to miss out on a lot of the deeper content that I'm doing for the NCIX channel as well. Remember, I work there, so I'm the video spokesman there, as well as maintaining Linus Tech Tips as more of like a bloggy style thing. So this is apparently going to run in 1080p, which is probably a little bit much for what we're doing. This was also one of the first videos where Diesel started doing some of these really cool things with the new camera. So I forget, oh shoot, I forget what he calls it, but it's called like a something fade or something, where you can see the Asus one is blurry and then it switches to being clear because he's changing the focus, and then the Asus is clear and the 7970 is blurry and just looks super cool. But yeah, so what it comes down to is if there's something unique and different about it, then sure, yeah, I don't mind taking a look at more than one card. But when we're talking Asus Direct CU, MSI Twin Frozer, and Gigabyte WindForce, we're talking dual fans, some heat pipes, some aluminum fins. You want to see that 5 times? I mean, okay, hey, if you want to see that 5 times, let me know. And I can totally change my policy, and I can start doing it differently. But if you don't want to see that 5 times, then that's cool too. I have never watched Breaking Bad, to someone who asked if I'm a fan of the show. So I've heard it's great. But I have so little time these days that I haven't managed to watch TV in a very long time. I hardly find time to watch my weekly Zero Punctuation, and that's like 5 minutes long. What type of case should I get for under 170 full ATX? I don't know. Define XL is probably not a bad choice. I really like the Define XL, but I hate it when people ask me what case to get without giving me any context. You want quiet? You want sort of a more aggressive gamer look, half XM would be a good choice in that case. I can't make this choice for you unless you give me some idea what the heck you're going for. I'll be doing another giveaway at some point, maybe soon. Maybe I'm filming something this weekend. No promises or anything though. When your son gets older and all his friends are getting consoles, will you build him an amazing rig and make them cry? Before all his friends are getting consoles, he'll already have an amazing rig, and I'll encourage him to take his amazing rig over to his friends' houses, and it'll be like so massive and heavy that he can just drop it on their consoles and literally crush them, because the PC as a gaming platform literally, well, doesn't literally, but it crushes console. So yes, he will fully understand the value of the PC as a gaming platform versus consoles, because consoles are for console people. Which is pretty much all you need to know about them. Nah, I'm just kidding. You guys who play games on consoles, you're cool too. Luke asks, H100 or an HD14 and a 600T? I would go with the H100 personally. Get Ivy Bridge now or wait for Haswell? Impossible to say. So many people, again, ask me these questions. I don't know, because I don't know how Haswell performs. I don't know how much it costs. So you guys are asking me to solve for, okay, so, see, this is a great example. Algebra. So x, let's say x is yes and y is no or something. So solve for this yes or no variable, and then you've got like the current thing, and then you've got the future thing, which is also a variable. So actually I can't solve for this variable without knowing this variable. So those of you who are like, well, have at least completed a high school level math course will know what I'm talking about. Linus, what's the input lag like with the Asus PB278Q like? Very good, actually. For a 2560 by 1440 monitor, outstanding. Color's excellent. Little bit of motion blur. Not bad though. Really like it. Great monitor. Kudos to Linus. I'm going back to sleep. Okay, good night. I guess he's probably gone by now since that was 7 minutes ago. Would an i3-3220 last me until Intel Skylake? Wow. This is taking it even further. Check out this tweet, guys. So I was just talking about how I can't speculate on the next platform that's coming, and I'm being asked about something that's not even due to be released for 3 years. Come on, Jason. Will it last you? I don't know. I mean, it's impossible to say how multi-threading aware games are going to become without knowing what the heck you're doing with your computer. Like, are you going to be rendering 4K videos? In that case, your i3-3220 is going to get squished like a bug. Sorry, man. I mean, if you've been using an E7400 until now, and that's worked for you, then what I know about your usage model is that you don't upgrade that often. So based on that, I'd say that you're getting a pretty equivalent processor today, so maybe could that last you another 3 years? Probably. That's the only way I can answer that question, though. Is an overclock 670 better than a stock 680? Yes, but you could also overclock a 680, so there you go. Any experience with any of the Cyborg Gaming Meister keyboards? I played around with a Rat something or other, which is that, yeah, it's Cyborg now, I think. They changed their branding not that long ago, so it's very confusing. But, yeah, it was okay. Felt good. Sensor felt good. I didn't really like the modularity of the mouse, because I can personally find mice that are comfortable for me already, and I found it just it's kind of weird. But lots of people like them. I'm not meowing on the live stream, thanks to Eduardo for his suggestion there. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the Twitter thing. Please meow. No, thank you. I just bought SP2500s. Is it supposed to hiss when it's turned on and nothing's playing? There may be a slight hiss, but if it's loud, then that might be something where you want to look into RMAing those with Corsair. 9 times out of 10, it's something to do with the amp. So, for example, my old Monsoon MM2000s had quite a hiss to them, and it ended up being caused by the amp. So there's really nothing you can do about it with these kit speakers, because you can't just replace the amp. What graphics card would be good for a 19 to 21 inch monitor? This is something I've wanted to talk about on the live stream for a while. The size of your monitor has nothing to do with how much graphics card horsepower it requires. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. The only thing that matters is how many pixels. So for example, a lot of people were really confused back when I released this video. The GeForce GTX 590 triple projector ultimate panoramic gaming experience episode. And that's me at my best, of course. Yeah, there you go. Because they were like, holy crap, how does a graphics card power, you know, a 200-inch display? To which I responded, well, these are 3 720p monitors, so if you actually do the math, it's not that much more intensive than powering a single 1080p monitor off a GTX 590, which definitely has the horses for it, so don't worry about that. So yeah, guys, only pixels. It doesn't matter if you're running a 1080p 23-inch monitor or if you're running a 1080p 70-inch TV, it requires exactly the same amount of graphics power in order to achieve the results that you are looking for. So I would need to know what resolution your monitor is. However, based on what I know about 19 and 21-inch monitors, anything higher than a GTX 650 Ti, you're probably not going to see as much benefit. Something like a 660 Ti would be the maximum I would spend for a resolution like that, and you'd be able to crank up absolutely everything. Excuse me. What is the absolute smallest case that can fit a 2x100 radiator? You know what? That's a great question. And because I don't know off the top of my head, I would love for anyone else who's on Twitter to reply to Matthew last here and let him know if there's any super small cases that you've seen are confirmed to fit a Corsair H100. Good question. Jacob asks, would I ever use an AMD graphics card? Well, I'd use it for lots of things. My wife's computer has a 5870 in it. I have used AMD graphics cards in the past. My first my first, I mean, I'll call it high-end, but it wasn't really high-end, but it was a couple $100, few $100. My first high-end graphics card that I bought, beyond using like onboard or cheapo entry-level stuff, was an All-in-Wonder 9600 Pro. So that was kind of back in the day now, but that was a fantastic card. Loved it. From there, I upgraded to an X800 Pro. From there, I went to an X800 XT. I used a 3870, HD 3870 at one point because that was a cool card. You could take off the air-cooled shrouded thing that was only connected to the GPU, and it actually had a built-in unisync, so all you had to do was throw a GPU water block on it and you were ready to go. That was a very cool card. I have a 2900 XT in my work machine. Let me just think if there's anything newer than that that I have used. Not since then. Yeah, not since then. My biggest problem with reference AMD cards is they tend to exhibit more coil line than their NVIDIA counterparts. And again, because I'm a silence freak, it almost has nothing to do with performance for me. I will take a card that performs 30% slower and is silent versus one that is like bleeding edge fast and goes, you know, whenever it's loading games and textures and stuff like that. I find that just super, super obnoxious. Nice gaming laptop. Can you tell us if the Fatality sound card is better than the Phoebus? Absolutely not. Asus is the king when it comes to sound cards these days. The Phoebus is way better than the Fatality sound card, which is like a 5-year-old design at this point. Is it possible to buy just the Hydro Copper water block for the 680? I don't believe so. EVGA only sells them with video cards. However, you could get a different water block that would probably be better than the Hydro Copper anyway, and put that on your 680. Good point, Andrew. I have not used the Cooler Master CM Storm trigger, but I'm very excited about the brown switches. Linus, would you recommend mechanical keyboards? It doesn't even matter for FPS gaming. Put in 4 blank. Yes, I would recommend mechanical keyboards. They are way better than anything else. You know, I actually spent a fair bit of time with the Mamba back when it was released. Good question. What do I think of the Razer Mamba? It is very responsive. So in terms of the input latency, it is outstanding. Didn't really like the ergonomics that much, which to me is sort of a killer. But let me see if I can actually, that was one of my favorite videos that I ever did, was my Razer Mamba one. Let's see. Oh, Chilla, wow, really? 680,000 views on a Mamba video? Wow. That's outstanding. Let's see if I can find mine. There we go. NCIX.com Razer Mamba from April 16th, 2009. So our video quality wasn't what it is now. This is awesome though. I actually sing the Mamba song, Mamba number 5. And this is cameraman's comment here. See? So I made up my own sort of lyrics to Mambo number 5. Let me make that go away. I'll let you guys sort of, you know, sing along in your heads. But yeah, if you watch that video, you can enjoy my terrible singing. And I basically said everything I think about the Mamba in that video. I didn't end up using it, so I guess that should be all you need to know at a certain level. Sorry, not much time with the Sidewinder X4, so I can't really comment. Yes, you can have a shout out to the Danish viewers. Hi Danish viewers. Thank you for watching this live stream, and I hope you're enjoying it. Actually, I want to check my live stream ideas thing. Shout out to Mexico viewers. I did promise that. And then I also wanted to talk about single versus multi-rail power supplies. So tell you what, since you Twitch people are all whining and griping every time I try and talk about something other than Q&A, would you guys like to hear about single rail versus multi-rail? Or would you like to complain some more? Okay, I'm listening. Zzz, no, no, yes. No, no, yes, yes, yes. You guys can't make up your mind, so I'm just going to do it because I think it's a good idea. Single rail versus multi-rail power supplies. So basically, most modern power supplies, and maybe I shouldn't say most, but many modern power supplies actually are taking a virtual approach to a multi-rail design. So while all of the power is being generated with a single 12-volt rail, it is using electronic technology to separate them out and then implement safety mechanisms on a per rail basis on virtual rails. That's why you even see power supplies that have switches between single rail and multi-rail. So this means a couple of things. So number one is that it means that your multi-rail power supply can be a little, okay, let's step way back. Multi-rail, why does it exist? Multi-rail came around originally back in the P4 days when it came to be that we were drawing dramatically more power from the 12-volt rail all of a sudden. So power supply manufacturers were kind of like, oh, well, this is a lot of amperage to put on one rail, and the ATX specification changed to actually require multi-rail power supplies for ATX V whatever point whatever specification compliancy for a while. So then what happened after that was stuff continued to draw more and more power from the 12-volt rail, and so video cards and CPUs particularly, I mean back when Intel's Pentium D series, those things were power hogs. You wouldn't believe a motherboard that I saw once that had the entire VRM, like it was one of those ASUS cardboard color boards, you know, those older orangey yellow ones. The entire back of the board was like brown where the MOSFETs were, in spite of the cooling fan that was blowing air down on them, because those things drew so much power, they ran so hot. So what happened was we split it out into multi-rail so that when safety mechanisms were applied to the individual rails, it wouldn't be so much power that it would just explode, okay, in layman's terms. Then what happened, we started drawing more power from the 12-volt rail, and we started running into issues where if the manufacturer didn't implement multi-rail correctly, if you plugged in your CPU and then your GPU accidentally, because it was all Molex powered back then, so your CPU and all your hard drives, you had them all running off the same rail on the power supply, even though you had a 450 watt power supply and your system only drew 300 watts from it, you could run into situations where your system would just power down as soon as you got under gaming load. And that caused a big problem for gamers, and we started to see single rail power supplies come back to prevalence. I mean, guys like PC Power and Cooling have sort of always been all about single rail. Corsair has stayed predominantly single rail for their very high-end stuff. XFX is single rail on their high-end stuff, especially now. However, that issue's pretty much gone. I mean, even power supplies like Antec's High Current Quattro, was it? Or High Current Pro? High Current Quattro. It was a multi-rail design, but I was still, because they've added more sort of overflow onto each individual rail, so one rail, so just because you've got, like, let's say 100 amps total and then you've got 10 rails, you don't go 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. It doesn't work that way. You can go, each of these rails can handle 22 amps maximum, but obviously you couldn't load them all at 22 amps because that would exceed the maximum total current capability of the power supply. So that means that you can sort of borrow power from one rail to another with the modern implementations of multi-rail designs in order to, whether they're virtual or whether they're real, in order to maintain that safety where you're not running so much power through one wire to the point where you can actually like melt connectors. It's happened. But you're able to borrow that power. So I was able to run dual Coolit Boreas liquid cooling tech units off of one of those power supplies in spite of its multi-rail configuration, and that's a couple-year-old unit now. So single rail, multi-rail, which is the right choice? Personally, I don't think about it too much. I buy the power supply that I like in terms of, you know, cable management, in terms of the cooling, in terms of how quiet it is. The XFX one I'm using now and some of the Seasonic ones actually have a hybrid fan control, so if the load's under 50%, it doesn't turn the fan on at all. Yay. Perfect for silence freaks. That's basically like buying a 500 watt passive power supply. Awesome. Fan only turns on when you're gaming. Perfect. So it happens to be a single rail. Does it matter to me? Not really. I haven't heard too many stories of people's computers blowing up due to single rail power supplies. But companies like Antec that tend to do things very like by the book will probably continue to implement multi-rail, and that's fine too. So there. I hope that wasn't too boring for you guys, and that you haven't all like tuned out because I'm talking about power supplies. So let's go ahead and go back to Twitter and see if we can get this to switch. There we go. Graphics difference between VGA, DVI, and HDMI. VGA sucks. DVI is higher bandwidth than HDMI, and HDMI is lower bandwidth than DVI, which only matters if you're running a higher resolution. Ivan, I'm on broadband 250, but they haven't managed to fix my upload yet, so I'm only on 5 megabit up. So I'm actually calling Shaw tomorrow to complain about that and get the difference in price addressed by them. Ooh, Wes. How do you feel about OCZ's stock dropping 70% in the past week or so? I actually know a lot of people at OCZ. They're my bros. But I gotta say, it's looking ugly right now for, you know, all the people that are leaving. I mean, and I know a couple guys who are gone. The way that their stock has gone like this, well, no, it's gone more like this and then like this. And then, you know what? Great products. Vertex 4 particularly is just awesome. I mean, it was the first time they'd really released something that was truly their own. Not, I mean, Revo Drive is kind of their own, but it's like their own implementation of like someone else's RAID controller and someone else's controller with someone else's firmware, whereas Vertex 4 at least had their own firmware on a Marvell controller. So I don't know. I hope they pull out of this. Maybe they'll get acquired. Maybe they'll figure it out. But if you're asking me if I'd invest in OCZ today, the answer is probably not. Would you recommend any hardware for interfacing recording live music? You know what? I'm not the expert on that, unfortunately. What do I think about Windows 8? I'm excited for the snappiness, the quick boot times, and all that good stuff, but I'm less excited for how unexcited other people are. Not a question, but please do a follow-up of some of the stuff you take a first look at. Some products are interesting to see me test. Right, up till now, the problem has been that I'm very time constrained. So I do have a full-time job at NCIX. For those of you who think that I make like $1 billion on YouTube and that's sort of how I make my living, it's really not how it works for me. I do have a real job, and then YouTube is like it's great and it's fun and it is part of my job, but it is not something that I can afford to spend more than maybe a day and a half a week. I mean, honestly, even doing things like live streams, if you guys sort of noticed what time it is, it's Friday night at 10:30. Do you think I'm on the clock for work? The answer would be no. So, I mean, I do this because I enjoy it, because it's fun, because, I mean, you guys have supported me so much, but I just don't have the time. So if in the future that changes, yes, I would be happy to do more in-depth looks at things, but for now, I'm going to have to pretty much stick with the way it is. If you want to see the more in-depth looks that I do, make sure you're subscribed to the NCIX.com channel. I haven't used those Enermax fans. Can you set up two-way iFinity? I really don't understand you saying. That's not what iFinity is. iFinity is 3 monitors or more, and then two-way. So GTX 560 doesn't support iFinity. Okay, if you're asking if you can run 2 monitors off of a GTX 560, the answer is yes. So there you go. What's the best power supply? Just grab like an HX 750 or something. It's a great choice for a configuration like that. William says, my question will be answered. Cool. What do you think is the best case under 80 bucks? Corsair has one coming, the 200R, that I think is very exciting. I haven't unboxed it yet. I haven't seen it in person yet, but I think that might be a great choice for around 80 bucks. How much radiator surface area and a custom water cooling loop would you need for a CPU GPU configuration? Great question, Sawyer. Generally speaking, the rule that I follow is one 120 millimeter radiator per heat source, at least. And then double that if you want a silent system. So if you have a CPU and a GPU, you're going to want at least a dual rad. If you want to run super low RPM fans and have like a silent system, you're going to want at least a quad. That's my general sort of thing that I do. Juan says, shout out, it's my birthday. Shout out to Juan. Happy birthday and all that good stuff. 6 a.m. and watching Linus. You are the man. Fusedism. That's awesome. Love it. Will an 8150 bottleneck dual 7970s? Oh, Lawrence. The 8150 will perform at oftentimes like 70% the frame rate of a 3570K. I mean, I get a lot of flack from viewers from time to time for being an Intel fanboy, but the reality of it is, the way that I evaluate hardware is, this is the product, and this is what it does, and this is the other product, and this is what it does. And if this product does less than this one does, then it's not as good. It's not fanboyism, it's just reality. It's like reality check. 8150 is not a high-end CPU. it costs... See, this comes back to something I was talking about earlier. Why do things cost what they do? The 8150, they can brand it FX all they want, but the 8150 is $179.99 on sale because it is worth $179.99 on sale, in spite of the fact that it is an 8-core processor and it is an absolute beast when it comes to video editing, and that's all there is to really say. Linus, I'm buying a gaming mouse mainly for FPS games. Any advice? I don't know, SteelSeries Sensei, Neonix mice are pretty good. Really like Neonix mice. On my laptop, what's better? A hard drive password or a BIOS password, or both? Use the encryption on your hard drive. The BIOS password does almost nothing. So BIOS password is only relevant if you want people to not go into your BIOS and change your boot order. Whoops. Change your boot order, for example, which I think is a non-factor for most people. All right, last Twitter question of the night. And just before we do that, I want to thank all 1,700 of you for tuning in. This is fantastic. You guys make me feel very, very loved, and that is absolutely thrilling. You guys are just awesome. And let's go ahead and go back to Twitter. So I'm going to kind of roll the dice. And oh, people want to see the cat. Okay, you know what? I will see what I can do. I'll see what I can do about summoning the cat. Rumble! Rumble! Come here, sweetheart. Rumble! He usually comes when I call if he's not sleeping or trapped somewhere. Rumble! And I usually use snapping when I'm pointing at like a bug or something I want them to kill. So they often come when I snap my fingers as well. Rumble! I hear him meowing. You know what? He might be trapped in a room. Okay, I'm going to bring Rumble for a guest appearance. I'll be right back. Sorry guys, I forgot. Rumble's actually really not feeling well, so I shouldn't have been calling him anyway. But I brought Rocket to visit. Rocket, say hi to the camera. Rocket's really more camera shy than his brother. Say hi. See, this is my boy. So for those of you who aren't familiar with my cats, they are Bengals, which is sort of a cool breed that involves this kind of leopard print sort of thing that they got going on here. So hopefully this is HD enough that you guys can see him. So he is not a marbled Bengal, he is a spotted Bengal. You can get them in a variety of different sort of configurations. Marble is just like a different coat pattern, and then you can get, this is a golden color, and then you can also get them in silver, which is significantly more rare and very, very expensive. I think for a breeding female silver Bengal, the breeder was saying something along the lines of 15 grand to 25 grand, depending on the quality of the cat in terms of their coat and whatever else. These are pet quality cats, so they have imperfections that make them not conform to the breed standard or whatever else, but there. I brought my cat to visit. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yes. And oh come on, the Twitch people are giving me a hard time. I'm not talking about my cat like it's an item. I mean, my cat. But Bengal breed is an item, so let's put it that way. It's my dad's birthday. Remind you to congratulate him? This is just like the weirdest tweet ever. I don't think that's gonna work. All right, so let's find one more to answer. You know what? Let's go with this one. Mark, what do you think about sharing your idle computer time to dedicate your CPU to scientific research via the internet? So he's referring to projects like Folding at Home, SETI, Boink. My comment on that has been that as long as it's as long as it's not disruptive to my computer using experience. And what I found last time I tried to really get into folding was that it was making it so my games were crashing all the time. I haven't tried in a while, but other than that, it's great. The drawback is that you do usually see a significant increase in your power usage. So if you can afford the extra little bit of money, or if that's something that you want to contribute, you know, Folding at Home has been doing actually a lot of really cool research. Boink I'm less familiar with what they're doing. I think SETI is looking for extraterrestrial life or something along those lines. But yeah, great idea. But your room and your computer will run hotter. Your power bill will be more. So as long as you factor those things into whatever decision you make, then you should be good to go. Thank you guys for checking out the live stream tonight. And again, thank you for all of your support. And good night from Canada. Or good morning, or wherever the heck you guys are. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off now. And Firdaus Jafar asks, is the M4 better than the Vertex 3? You know what, they're pretty darn close, so it doesn't really make much difference to me one way or the other. Can you recommend a good sub $400 or $350 27-inch IPS screen with vibrant colors? No. IPS is expensive, yo. Yeah, sorry man.